So we've had some lively conversation. We have a lot of things in common, actually. Both of us matriculated from CCNY.
City College.
Right.
That's right.
And we both were in the Black Studies Department.
And we both studied under
Dr.
Jeffries.
Dr. Leonard Jeffries.
That's right.
And Dr. Eugenia Bain.
And in my case, Smalls as well.
Yes,
James
Smalls. His children were in, they had a little dance program, and his children were in this dance program that I had put together at City College, too. Mm-hmm. And my sweetheart, though, was Jess Oliver.
Yeah.
I love that man. I love Jess Oliver. He just had so much attitude, but he was one hell of a dance teacher. Yeah. That whole department was like a family.
And beyond the family, the Afrocentricity.
That's where I got my thing from. Dr. Bain, you know, it was about always, every time I saw her, I said, oh my gosh, she's so gorgeous. And so then I just got all this garb. I had all this garb. I wear it constantly. I'm trying to tone it down a little bit and try to, you know, just,
Don't tone it down. Keep it. Keep it. We need it.
Because my closet is full.
I think she started the whole purple thing.
And purple's my favorite color.
I think she started it, yeah.
And jewelry. She always had all this stuff on. But that's good. So we have another connection.
I see.
In your book, you talk about male stress. Mm-hmm. And you have a male stress list. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Again, it goes back to what I'm trying to share with my readers in terms of reaching our young men. We don't ask how the tie fits. We just expect them to wear it.
Okay.
But if you ask them, they'll tell you, it chokes. It prevents, it suppresses. Now, we understand assimilation. You know, you want to get that job, you want to fit in.
Yes.
But young people want to set their own standards right now, you see. And so to us, we were taught, you know, to wear that tie. To them, they look at that tie as a lynch.
Yes.
We don't like to hear that, but that's how it is. So it's one of the stresses. We have a lot of stresses that we don't talk about, or at least are not allowed to talk about, you know. Representing as a sex expert, a sexual being, without realizing that what we're doing is really objectifying ourselves, you see?
Yes.
Suppressing the emotions, play sports, but don't do anything artistic.
Like the very nice young man, was his name Christopher?
Christopher Evans did most of the illustrations in my book.
Okay, that's the brother whose mother is also an artist.
She's a photographer.
Photographer, yes. And I remember one of the poignant things that she said in our group discussion was because he's so very tall, because he was 6'8", 6'9", something like that, and he didn't want to play ball. He wanted to be an artist, and a fine artist he is, as a matter of fact.
He's 18 years old.
Amazing young man. I met some amazing people at that show that you had.
And the pressure to play basketball as opposed to be an artist was a lot for not only his mom, but on him in terms of his peers.
Of course.
Fortunately, he had a mother who pushed the art and ignored what was out there.
She listened.
She listened.
Which is the most important thing, is to be able to listen and to support your children. We share so many things that we seem to agree on. I am 100% sure that we're going to agree on my next conversation.
Okay.
Because, of course, I've already saw it in your book. But one of my pet peeves is education. And as you were talking about earlier, that we will overcome and that we're a mighty people and that we have strength and all those things, we do. But one of the things that breaks my heart to the core is that the education system does not celebrate who we are. The reason so many of our people are in such turmoil is because when they go to school, they do not hear anything positive about their race. I had very proud parents from the South, and they talked a lot about segregation. My mother would say things like, if I die tomorrow, do not send my body down south. There's nothing down south I want. She said, I mean, and she was adamant. She said when she got away from that foolishness down there, my mother was born in 1917, so you can imagine what she was confronted with. And she said, no. I didn't really know or learn so much about how I was supposed to be the queen that I am until I was in the Black Studies department at City College.
And then you saw it for yourself.
And then I saw Black is beautiful. Then I saw Black had power. So why do you think that the education system continues to perpetuate this nonsense? I think that the Willie Lynch letter should be mandatory, just like the Diary of Anne Frank.
Right. Well, see, here's the thing. He graduates high school. He's got that piece of paper.
Yes.
And we celebrate him. You know, we have a party, dinner. It's wonderful. He made it. But he has a piece of paper and has no clue as to who he is.
That's right.
And what his role is in the global scheme of things. Yet, everyone else is very clear on who they are and their role. You know, when you see what happened to the Honorable Dr. Adelaide Sanford, and how they made sure to keep her and her educational programs out of the education system, to the point where she had to go and do her own thing. We're the only group that has to do that. And you have to ask yourself, what is it? What is it that is so dangerous?
Yes, I ask myself all the time.
About properly educating people of African descent.
Yes.
What is it? And you can't help surmising that if we know ourselves and if we know the truth, then maybe we'll act differently. Maybe we'll pull up our pants a little bit more.
Absolutely.
God forbid.
God forbid.
Right? So,
Khalil, it's mind-boggling to me. You know, we know they'll teach us about other cultures, but they will not tell us the truth about who we are. Now, I know that the most dangerous human on the planet is an educated Black man, clearly, no question about it. But we have got to find a way to get the message out to our young men.
And there are ways. If you're courageous enough, there are ways. Now, here's the other side of that. You can actually get fired if you don't follow the curriculum.
I know.
The Eurocentric curriculum. There are sisters and brothers who have lost their teaching jobs because they decided to not follow the regiment, the poison that they were being told to give to their kids. And they recognize it as poison. So people need to live, right? People need to pay their bills, pay the mortgage maybe, that kind of thing. So it's not simple to just say, hey, bring it in the classroom. So what people do is, right, they say, okay, here's, you ever watch Sarafina?
Yes, yes.
You remember that scene when Whoopi Goldberg, who plays the teacher?
Yes, yes.
She was forced to repeat, right, white supremacy.
That's right.
But she found a way to work around it.
Yes.
And that's the shameful part when it's 2012 and we still have to do that.
This is what I'm talking about. This is crazy. It's 2012.
But Queen, here's the new deal. The administrators don't look European anymore. They look like us.
But it's still the same old story.
Right. So now, when he says, I don't want to go to school, go to school, go to school, we don't take the time to say, well, time out. Why don't you want to go to school?
Exactly.
Because it ain't about me. Now, when you hear that, don't just say, boy, I say go to school. Take some time and go to that school. Sit with that teacher and say, he doesn't want to go to school. Now, either he's lazy, and I don't think he is, because that's my child. Or something is happening in this classroom.
Or not happening in this classroom.
Challenge the teacher. Let the teacher know that we're awake. But if the teacher assumes that we're dead, it's business as usual.
And even that little jive month that they give us, Black History Month, there's still a script that you have to follow that does not have anything to do with a Nat Turner.
You know what I do?
Or the Scottsboro Boys.
I wait till March 1st.
Good for you.
I wait till March 1st.
Yeah, because who is
going?
How can they tell you when you're supposed to celebrate you?
Right.
And that's why, as a people, we don't know how to do it.
We're also afraid, Queen.
Yeah, we're afraid.
We're afraid. And it's real. The fear is real. I understand. You got bills to pay. You know, it's real. And the kids know it's real. But the kids, and I shouldn't say kids, but these young men and women, they've had it enough. They're not afraid. Now, unfortunately, they're being seduced by the media to distract them. But those who know what's up, we need to encourage them. Because there are also a lot of young men and women of African descent who know what's up. And they're doing their part. Trust me, they're doing their part.
I hope so. I know I just wish that there was a way that we could reach more young men and young ladies to just tell them how rich and beautiful and courageous our history is. Because, of course, you know, during the civil rights movement and all that kind of stuff, blacks and whites, to be fair, put their lives on the line so that we would have an opportunity to not have to live the way we're living now.
Right.
And we're still, it's almost a disgrace to them to the fact that they gave so much, in some cases everything. When you're willing to die for something, you give everything. For us to still be in some sort of state of complacency, you know, I would think that we need to get the parents angry enough, because the Board of Ed and all these kind of places, they work for us. We are confused. We pay their salaries. We're actually their employers. They work for us, and we need to start making them do their job.
Well, see, we got comfortable.
Very
After
comfortable.
the civil rights. We said, okay, now I could sit anywhere I want on the bus. I can go anywhere I want, presumably, right?
That's right.
So therefore, we've arrived. We got comfortable.
That's true.
We didn't go to the next step.
I used to jokingly say that one of the worst things that ever happened to us was they allowed us to get an American Express card.
Yeah.
And then we said, hot damn, we made it.
And I got news for you. I think we messed up even before that. I think we messed up with integration. We got bamboozled, Queen. We thought it was going to be better. And in turn, we went from supporting our own to negating our own. Now, back to what you're saying about European Americans supporting us, I always tell my most angriest students,
Yes.
don't say white people. Don't say white man. Say white privilege. The system of white privilege, or white privilege.
This is
system.
true.
Big difference.
Major difference.
Because there are European Americans who have done amazing things for the sake of our own people. And continue. Let's face it, Obama would not be in the White House if it was just us voting. Let's keep it real. So obviously, there are progressive European Americans who understand that we all benefit if we get away from white privilege.
Yes.
You know? But there are also people who want to keep that privilege.
Absolutely. I teach a course, Cultural Competency, and there's a huge segment on white privilege. Huge segment.
Yeah.
I want to get back to this book of yours that I'm falling in love with the more I talk to you. I'm telling you. This is a difficult topic, I'm sure.
Okay.
I noticed that you had in your book, I was very surprised. Teens, male teens, because this book is for black boys, and pornography.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
When I'm talking to parents now, okay?
Yes.
While you're at work, you need to find out what's going on. Maybe you do a surprise visit every once in a while. You might find out that there's a party going on in your house.
Yes, a hooky party, right?
Now, you know, I don't mean to sound like some prude, you know, we've hung out, we've done our things. But it's wise to know what's going on. It may not be your kid, but your kid might be seduced into doing amateur porn in your own home. They're not thinking that it's gonna end up on the internet at some point. It's the new. You remember Spin the Bottle?
Of course I do.
It's the new Spin the Bottle.
Yes, RCK, run, catch, kiss. I remember those things. Yeah.
And in this case, it's not running and it's not kissing.
Yeah, no,
but it's
not.
everything in between.
Yeah, social media has kicked that up a whole notch, right?
Okay, so again, the book is not about how to stop necessarily what they're doing, because they're going to do what they're going to do. But if we can help them understand the ramifications of what they're doing, then they may rethink some of their behavior. But we have to be educated, not just from the books, but from what's happening.
Which is a perfect segue to another topic in your book, teenage fatherhood.
Yeah.
You really, really went into that whole...
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Tell our viewers about some of your views on the teenage fatherhood thing and what the poor boys, they don't have a clue.
Well, there's a chapter called The Joys of Teen Fatherhood.
Yes.
And it's sort of like a play on words, obviously. And basically, and here's the thing, they don't like lectures, right? So instead of me saying, these are the don'ts and be careful and thou for about 5 pages, what I did was just list the reality checks, right? So you're not gonna have necessarily easy access to your own apartment at 18 or 17, and now you have a child. Both families on each sides may be on each other's throats because of your actions.
Yes.
It's going to be virtually impossible to raise that child financially. And so now you're included in the welfare system, and now you're stuck in it. You have now brought a child into this world, and you don't even know who you are yet. Most of the times you won't even stay with the young lady.
Exactly.
It's not even going to work because of so much pressure.
The pressure, exactly.
You're going to want to hang out. She's not going to feel that, So this is where this connect comes in. Grandma, back in the days, she would be the one to sort of pick up from there. She's not having it. In fact, she might be 30 years old.
That's true. That's true. She's not a rocking chair grandma.
You on your own.
She's on the bus going to Atlantic City.
Now, for him, he thinks being a man is having a baby.
Yes.
I've arrived. I'm a man. So it's a reality check when he gets that family court letter. So this is what I'm talking about, before, and unfortunately too, some parents actually encourage this, So
what do you mean by that?
they encourage the child having the child because they think, in their own mind, they think that that's what it's supposed to be. That's how you become a man. That's how you become a woman. That's how you get some money, some extra checks. Listen, let's keep it real.
Yeah, so it's like the real classic double standard. It's okay for the boy to be engaged in all this sexual behavior and making babies and all that, and then on the other hand, for the female, it's of course not. That's not nothing to be a proud thing about. I remember my mother used to tell me that a man could do anything he wanted to do. He could walk the street buck naked, and the next morning put on a fine suit of clothes, and they will still call him Mr. Jones. She said, and you do it, she said, and you will be a tramp for the rest of your life.
Yeah, but see, now when you have Rihanna singing, I want to see what you got, and I want to see where it's going, and I'm not really talking about marriage, I just want you to be the baby daddy. They're not talking about marriage, Queen.
Yeah.
They're not talking about long-term commitment. They don't even know what that is. They don't even fathom long-term. But they want the baby daddy, baby mama thing. It goes back to the sickness that you were talking about in the first part. And we, as the responsible parents, we really should be talking about sex and sexuality from day one. We shouldn't be having a conversation about sex and sexuality when they're 16. So we really need to talk about what it means to be a man, father, woman, mother. And what that means, if you decide to go ahead and have a child at a young age, because again, they're going to do what they're going to do. But at least sit them down and say, okay, well, I'll tell you what. Here's what's going to happen.
Yes.
Financially speaking, it's going to be virtually impossible for you to survive on your own.
Exactly.
Emotionally, what wisdom can you possibly pass on to this child?
But
And
this
so
is true.
now you have baby, raising baby, and whenever I see them, and you see the child walking behind, like almost half the block away, hold his hand, because if you're gonna do it, then let's do it right.
Oh, listen, I tell you, I see parents pushing the stroller into the street and they got the child in front of them going into the street instead of having the stroller alongside of them because they don't understand that whole defense thing. But you're very true, and I'm glad to hear you say it because I raised daughters, as I told you when we spoke before, and I remember having that conversation with my daughters. I I never wasted my energy with telling them don't have sex, because I remember my mother telling me that didn't work. But I said I'm not repeating that mistake. So I had very frank conversations with my girls about sex and relationships and men and those kinds of things. And I remember I took one of my daughters out to lunch. We had formal luncheon because I'd always said to her, if you think that you're getting ready to become sexually involved with a young man, I need you to talk to me about it first. I said, if he cares anything about you, he can wait. And so I remember her coming to me one day and she was saying to me, she says, Mommy, I think we need to have a conversation because me and so-and-so have been seeing each other for a long time. And she's high school now. So I said, okay, we're going out to lunch. And I took her out to lunch and I sat down and I explained to her the same thing you just said. What's going to happen is you're going to have this baby, and then because he doesn't have any real money to take care of a baby, you're going to start nagging him about Pampers and baby food. I said, real things. He's going to get tired of hearing your mouth, and he's going to go someplace where he doesn't have to hear that conversation. And then you're going to be raising this baby.
Probably on your own.
Only reason it won't be on your own is because I'm around.
Bingo.
That's only because I will still be fighting for her to get her education no matter what.
And I think it's a shame that it takes a judge to make you do the right thing. Now, here's the flip side of that, because I want to make sure that before we end this, I want to sneak this in some way.
Okay.
There are good fathers out there.
That's what your your art exhibit showed that.
There are. We are out there. I'm a father.
Yes.
We are out here. We have to explain to sisters, to mothers. Now, you're talking about touchy. This is touchy. I don't want him to see the child because he left me or I caught him doing something and now I'm mad at him. So his punishment is he's not going to be part of this child's life. Or I'm going to get his money through family court, but I'm going to just act out and not let him have his visitation rights. This is where we go wrong. You know how many sons tell me they want to have a relationship with their fathers, but their mothers won't allow them. So we really need to look at that also, because the family court system, they get a cut for every check the mother gets. They get a cut. So you have the prison system, the family court system, you have all these systems that are working against him.
Exactly.
And you now want him, and then of course you call him a deadbeat because he's not raising his child, but he can't get a job, he can't get a decent job because they're slapping $500 a month child support on him. So we really need to look at the outside forces that are at play here. Yeah, I understand. You're bitter. It happens. But for the sake of this child, male or female, put the focus on the relationship that he or she needs with that father.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
That makes such a big difference.
It makes all the difference in the world. And what you said about the family court thing is very true. I had an occasion to deal with family court very briefly. And I remember when I went there, my attorney had to make me do it because I think it's the most horrific thing in the world to have to make a father take care of his children.
Yeah.
And she said, "You're crazy because this man makes a lot of money. And he needs to take care of his children, even if he doesn't need to take care of you." Right. And I got off the elevator in family court, and you can smell the hatred in the building. And I was in there for about 10 minutes, and I went in the ladies' room and cried because I looked around, and everyone that was there was Black and Latino. And they have not just one floor, floors of this going on. And I began to, analyze this, and remove myself from the equation and say, my God, these poor kids, because the women, the things that the women were saying, I said, these children will not have a chance. They're not going to have a chance. So you're absolutely right. It takes a lot of education on our part to talk about these things. Of course, that's my signal to say, baby, it's over. Okay. I feel like my love is leaving me. I don't want you to go.
I have had a great time as always.
Yeah, it's terrific.
Thank you so much.
We need to mention someone that we both are crazy about. His name is
Ocean Morissette. He does all my book covers, so he's a photographer, so I just want to make sure I mention him.
Yes, and I love Ocean too, and I'm going to mention him as well.
You'll have a great
connection.
I love it.
Me and Ocean fell in love too. I'm cheating on you with Ocean. But I want to say to you, Cleo, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And we're going to try to find a way in the Black to get this book out to more children and more parents. And I think we need to send a copy to Chancellor Dennis Walcott.
All right.
And challenge him to read this book and say that it's not relevant enough for him to make part of the curriculum in the school system. We got to do this. And this is the only way this happens, because I told you when I first met. Me and
all of your young life you've seen such a misery and pain. Well, it's a cruel place to live, and it ain't gonna change. You're so young, you got so far to go. Don't think you'll reach your goal, young man.